You're watching eNCA on DSTV Channel 43. Good afternoon. I'm Dan Moyane. Now, the Alternative Information and Development Centre and the Assembly of the Unemployed are calling on government to urgently address the crisis of unemployment in South Africa. Currently, the rate sits at 34.9%. This means there are more than 7.5 million people who do not have a job. The two organizations that are job-creating alternatives that are available, well, what are they? Let's speak now to the director of the Alternative Information and Development Centre, that's the AIDC, Mr. Dominic Brown. Mr. Brown, good afternoon. Thank you very much for your time. I guess, the numbers have been getting worse and worse. Now we've got 12.4 million people in the country who are unemployed, according to the latest stats. But I guess the big question is, what can be done for these unemployed people to survive?
Thanks, Mr. Moyane. So, yes, as we prefer to reference, there are close to 12.5 million unemployed people in the country, according to Stats SA, when you include discouraged workers, which means that the unemployment rate is more than 46.6% of the labor force. So this is actually an unemployment emergency, and what is required is much greater state-led intervention and urgent interventions. So in the first instance, we need to break from the current macroeconomic policies. This includes the fiscal and monetary policies that's advancing massive budget cuts, the biggest cuts to the budget since 1994, and this includes massive cuts to the public sector wage bill. Now, if these cuts to the budget are not reversed, it will lead to further joblessness, and it will exacerbate the unemployment emergency, and it also severely undermines any prospects for a just recovery. So we need to reverse the budget cuts, reverse the increase to the interest rate, and reverse proposals to unbundle state-owned enterprises, including Eskom.
Okay, that's one. That's one. First, yeah. So
that's number one.
Yeah, that's one
number
thing that
two,
you can do. Hold on. That is one aspect. Now, you've mentioned the public sector wage bill. What other cuts in the budget should be reversed?
So there are cuts to key infrastructure. So this includes the municipal infrastructure grant. This includes infrastructure of basic education, healthcare. There's also cuts to the health budget, to the education budget, and to social grants, real cuts. These should all be reversed. And by the way, by our estimates at AIDC, we estimate that over the next 3 years, at least more than 60,000 jobs will be lost from the public sector alone. And this is on top of the more than 400,000 jobs that were lost over the past year. This is a jobs bloodbath. So we actually also need to put a moratorium on retrenchments for the foreseeable future if we are serious about tackling the jobs crisis.
And what's the next thing?
Of course, we have...
Yeah, so we don't have much time. Sorry, Mr. Brown.
Million unemployed people, no problem.
Mr.
So
Brown.
we have to implement a decent basic income grant of 1,500 Rand. This can at least meet the immediate needs of the people. In addition, this should be coupled with government acting as employer of last resort. This means government must employ everyone willing and available to work and pay them a living wage. This includes the insourcing of expanded public works program workers and community work program workers. Now, if you do this, and there's lots of work to be done, and you expand the public sector to meet the needs of the country, that means employing at least 95,000 more healthcare workers, for example, tens of thousands of more teachers and community healthcare workers, municipal workers, plumbers, and electricians. So this would be key jobs that would help to improve the standard of living in people's lives.
Yeah, and I saw
third immediate
carry on.
The third immediate thing government can do is harness the massive levels of public and private resources that's at our disposal. There's a huge amount of money. Just one example is the government employees pension fund, where there's currently more than 2 trillion in accumulated reserves, we can invest that in a mass public housing program, in the rollout of a public transport system and the expansion of a public transport system, pushing to see that Eskom is transformed to become a fully public renewable energy utility that can create a large amount of jobs and address the climate crisis that we are facing. These are but a few.
They're very. We've run out of time, but I wanted to say your suggestions in my mind seem very sensible and make good sense. And I was trying to speak to the Social Development Minister, but we haven't been able to talk about it, because rather than expand or extend the 350 special grant come March next year, government should consider that it is about blooming time it implements that basic income grant, among other things. Thank you very much, Mr. Brown. I wish we had more time to talk. He's, of course, the Director for Alternative Information and Development Center.